Hey, it's Heather K. Today is day 87. There's not many days to this 100-day journey. This is your path to success. This is actually part B of what I was working on yesterday for using your hand as measurement. So I'm just trying to have some tools here because it says here that you'd be smarter if you can estimate your portion sizes. So let's give her a go. Okay, so yesterday we talked about the palm of the hand being like 3 ounces of meat. And you could try this at home. Put a palm, put something, tofu or whatever, and weigh it. And I brought out the scale yesterday. And they had the cupped hand, which was 1 to 2 ounces. But in my hand, it was 1 ounce. In a case like mine, it was overflowing in a way, so to me it would be less than an ounce, but I never weighed what I'd be comfortable with. And then we had the fist, which represents 1 cup, and I didn't bring the measuring cup for that, so that's what I did yesterday. So now that says the thumb, the tip to the base, is 1 ounce of meat and cheese, which I mentioned yesterday. I can't confirm or deny that that is going to be 1 ounce unless I had some meat, which I really don't eat meat, so I should have got you a piece of tofu. So you're going to have to take my word for it or go home and measure it yourself, because this is just some guidelines. I'm just putting it out there. So I found this interesting. It says the tip of the thumb to the first joint. They said that's going to be 1 tablespoon. See that there? I even folded it funny there for you. That's a tablespoon. I don't see how that's going to be 15 milliliter or 1 tablespoon. I think the person who wrote this might have had a real stubby thumb and their fingers at the end were all balls. That would kind of, it would be like the measurement that way, but if you kind of looked at it as a scoop of something and used that, it would work. Fingertip to the first joint equals 1 teaspoon. So the tip of finger to the first joint, 1 teaspoon, or 5 mils. Well, yes, I can agree with that, but you got to remember, if you're measuring that down, that you got to know it's going to be circular like these. So one more. I'm sorry, this is so painful. I'm just trying to help. So it says the index finger to the first to the second joint. So the first joint to the second joint on your index finger is going to be 1 inch. Ooh, okay. If you can see that, it looks backwards on my screen. Yeah, I say it's 1 inch. Not sure why I need to know 1 inch of food. What kind of crazy magazine did this come from? I didn't make this stuff up. The only one I ever used was, personally, I might do better what I use. The light bulb is kind of where, and not all these funky light bulbs. One time the light bulbs came in all one size, indoor, outdoor. So the indoor ones, the round bulbs, that's the size of apple that you're supposed to have. But I further developed that. If you're a bigger person, like my giant son, whose head wouldn't even fit in this picture, he's 6'7", I buy the larger apples for him because he could eat like 1.5 to 2 apples versus my 1. It's hard for you to see how tall I am here on this video, but I'm not even 5'5". I'm petite. That's why I need to lose weight. This is just too much weight for me. And the cup of the hand, his hand, it might be more than 2 ounces. So I might even say, here, put it here. Let me cup your hand and put something in there and see what we come up with. That would be fun. My hand versus his. His is like double this size. So that any hand that's double my size is probably going to be 2 ounces. And now I do like the thought of the cup for nuts, because if I grab, like, let's say a handful of almonds, I put it there and I munch out on them, and then I might go back for another little hand, because you've seen in the video it was over, so 2 little cup sizes would equal 1, right? We're okay with that. The other thing what I did is I actually went to the nutritional value of a almond, and I think I could have like 11. So or 15, like whatever. I can't remember. I had a number once I measured it all up. And that varies too and you got to like learn or pay attention or keep measuring until you know. Because sometimes I find almonds come in larger sizes or smaller sizes. It could be 11 or it could be 15 based on how big the almond was. You know what I mean? If you're into buying almonds like I am, I love almonds, right? So that's what I mean. I've never measured an inch. As far as teaspoon and tablespoon, I'm a little bit crazy. It has to be a spoon. I even went to this weekly meetings where I bought their spoons because instead of their spoons being round, their spoons were square. Whatever turns your crank, guys. And I like their logo on it. It just their logo, like this particular one here, has a logo brand on that. See that? I don't know if you see that, but that says Tupperware. I actually I have generic metal ones. I have because I just love the metal ones versus the plastic. But this here came free to me in a kit, so I when I cook. Now this is kind of crazy. I have really weird things I need to have. I need to have 2 sets of measuring tools. And I like to have all of the proper tools to do the job. So I like to have more than one set of measuring cups. Because how many people you had to measure a half a cup wet ingredients and you're trying to be good, you're trying to learn the recipes and you're reading what the book says. Then lo and behold, they say 1.5 dry, right? So it's okay if you do the dry first, then the wet, but I'm always the person that goes along the line and every check. And it's like, I should put that dry in first, then the wet. So then I'm going back and washing it. It's just a mess. I'm a mess. So the thing, I guess, the bottom line, the path to success with all of these little sizes for an ounce or a cup or anything like that, you got to realize that when you're on a journey, you got to learn. You have to learn what these things these measurements are. You got to learn what to eyeball it so that when you're out for dinner, somebody takes you out for, hey, let's go have dinner, I'll buy, that you got to learn what you're able to have. You got to learn how much on your plate is going to keep you on your journey without being overwhelmed, because I've gone in places that I can't eat anything here, and I've gone in them places, and I think it was Subway one day. I ordered a breakfast sandwich on a wrap, and they said have all the veggies you want, so I loaded it all up. Now I just so happen to have the scale in the trunk of my car. Yes, I own like 3 scales, this house, the other house, in the car. Wherever I'm going, I do take it with me because I was learning. So I went to and measured it, and I did have over what I should have had, but it was a lot of veggies, so that was okay. But I had to remove probably a quarter off the wrap. The wrap was just too big. I mean, the wrap was huge, and for me, my wraps that I buy aren't that size. It's not a concern. So I found out the store has smaller wraps and they have their large wraps. And I just find it's too big. And sometimes, but you need the larger size to wrap up your food. So because the smaller ones, they have it falling all over the place. I mean, come on. Do you guys think like this? Like you're on this journey and you're making a mess. So that's why I prefer to have the big ones. Rips a quarter of it off, and you learn what that is, and don't be cheating on it when you get down the road and think you want to have a little extra more extra bread, which a wrap is better than a bun, right? You can have a mushroom, put about little mushrooms for hamburgers. So what I would do is I would feed the birds with it, and you're probably not supposed to feed the birds a wrap, but you can recycle it. And my favorite thing too, when I'm out, I ask people to take it away for me. I said, here, can you just like cut that off and throw that away, do whatever you do, recycle, compost. Because if you give it to me, I'll eat it. And it's almost like 98% of the people were always willing to help me, right? And I said, I'm going to have a couple bites, and I need you to remove this immediately. Because I will sit there. If it's there in front of you, you're going to eat it. I don't know, that's on my path for success today. See you tomorrow. Today's day 87. We're getting down there. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about anymore. I'm going to have to do some research. So I never out of things to talk about. What are you thinking? I laugh at my own jokes. I'm so sorry. Press like or subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.